Welcome, everybody, to the finals preview podcast for Risen Draft League. I'm here with my good friend and co host, TSM Burger King. Hi, BK, how are you
Hello,
doing?
everyone. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Pleasure to have you on here as always.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
we unfortunately lost our good friend Darter. He is,
He was too busy playing Pokemon raids, but we'll allow it.
yeah, he's a bit too good for us now. Uh, he demanded more money, and frankly, we just didn't have it in the budget, so we have to go on without him.
Yeah, we need sponsors for next season.
Yep, yep. But, anyways, it's been a while since the last podcast. Finals are tomorrow. Hopefully, I get this out on Thursday before. Um, yeah, so I'm thinking let's go over some of the best series in quarters and semis, and then let's talk about what we think is going to happen in the actual finals. So
hmm
let's,
Well, let's
well,
start with EOD versus DRG. Honestly, one of the more anticipating series I wanted to watch, seeing that EOD was one of mine runner-ups, maybe even winners. I would say for the entire league. A real sad shame to see them lose, especially
uh,
just semis.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't even semis, it was in quarters. Just,
Oh, you're
uh,
right. Sorry.
just such a shame. I mean, the Stro, what happened with the Stro? He's so good, but when the pressure's on, man, it's tough to watch. That
hmm
game one, the Stro, just, I don't know what
Maybe
it
we could
is.
chalk that up to a game one Stro moment, but they did not look the best. And to be honest, I don't think that came down to them performing terribly themselves, but also just like a big up to like DRG. Like they've made it to finals, which we'll touch on later. But as a team, I feel like they've grown heavily since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they had a pretty shaky regular season. I believe they were only 3-3, but once they made that switch in the mid lane, they just started being on a different tier. So much more synergy within the team. They have a triple diamonds in top, mid, and ADC, so just a really difficult team to play around.
On top of that, we have Echoes of War, who I personally got to play with on my winning roster last season. And just from playing with him, I know that he is a very supportive player and can enhance a lot of his teammates. Even though he is a lower ranked player, I mean, I think what he brings to the team is like invaluable. And supporting the three diamond players, like you mentioned, might just be the key for the success.
Yeah, he's really good. I know when we're playing solo queue together, you're always saying I gotta be more like Echoes of War, so I always study his games, try to learn from him.
hmm Well, it was sad to see some of our favorite players like Stroh, Brady, Frog Turtle Sense, and unfortunately Cole was not there for those series. But sad loss to COD go. Hopefully DRG can maybe take this win.
Yep,
Talking on
yep.
to game two now. It was Team Whale versus NOR, one of the stream games that we got to watch live actually.
Yeah, that was a good series. Um, I assume I didn't watch it, but did you?
Okay, I watched it. I've seen game three of it. It was looking pretty, or sorry, not game two of it, the final game. It was looking pretty close. Honestly, I knew that Jets team had a few problems with their team in the regular season, coming into the end of the regular season with a swap up in the jungle with their jungler leaving. I was really looking forward to seeing how their team would do, especially beating dogs in the tiebreaker week, securing top two seed for their seeding, like Group A. I thought we would have a lot better showing from them, but NOR did put in work, so you can't take away credit from them.
Yeah, Noir, the bottom seed to squeak in the playoffs in Div A. They actually made it all the way to the semifinals and had a really competitive series that we'll touch on later. So no shame in losing to Noir for the Whales there. That was a
Hmm.
great series, I assume.
The only thing we can be disappointed in is NOR not posting the screenshots
Uh,
of the post game for a better analysis. But alas, we move on to game three. I call Team Critler or Crit, but also unofficially known as the legendary Critical Sunrage team versus WGC. How would you
man.
think about that game?
Well, after WGC wiped the floor with my team, I was expecting a little bit more of a fight from them in quarters. But I mean, I guess Zohair is just a fraud, you know? He wasn't able to do very well, and TLCST kind of wiped the floor with them a quick 2-0. What else can you say?
Yeah, like after we saw Zohair come into the league, there was a bit of controversy. And after his first game, his first series played, like the stat line he was putting up made him look like probably one of the best players in the league, or at the very least, one of the best junglers. So losing 2-0 doesn't feel great. But then again, the opponents they're facing aren't any pushovers either. It's the best team in Division A. My personal favorites to win, Team Crit, who I think might actually just take home the trophy.
Let's see, we have one more quarter game to go over, and it's Team Chill versus P80. Team
Mhm.
Chill, of course, undefeated headed into the last week of the regular season when they lost to EOD, and then P80, a team that everyone had high expectations for, and it looked like they were going to turn the corner as a team. They won the first game pretty convincingly, but then it was Team Chill who ended up winning the next two to take the series.
Yeah, it was close. I liked how Marge went ADC, then back to mid, then back to like mid for game two and three. I like how they were able to adapt there. Uh, really, I think that gave them the edge that they needed. Right. So game one, obviously, no shame to little gamer boy. Obviously, he played his best, but it's a hard matchup, right? Zerath into the new dog champion is pretty hard. A lethality matchup like that is not going to be easy, especially when they're in the jungle. So then switching Marge over to the mid lane helped neutralize a lot of that jungle threat. And Low Gamer Boy is honestly a pretty good Aphelios player from that one game I watched him, game two and three. So credits to what credits due. I think they played really well, and they deserve to get to semis where they got to.
Yeah, especially game three there, little gamer boy popped off and carried. He had like 80 kills on Aphelios and 100,000 damage. That was a really
Yeah,
impressive performance after being swapped around.
yeah. The only downside was I was rooting for Sabota. He put up some crazy top lane AP champions only that series, which was weird with the Casio, Rumble, and then Azir top. But you got to respect the man for picking what he likes. So,
Yeah, game two was such a good duel between him and Margarine.
mhm.
Sabota went 13, 4, and 15 on Rumble, and Margarine 14, 5, and 9 on Silas. So
Yeah, it
that
was
was a great
good.
series to watch.
The stylistic and Hecarim malts were pretty good, and honestly, well played to both teams. Very close series, and I think that moves us over right into the semifinals now, where we're officially into the best of five territory, leaving behind the best of threes. So we're gonna have some longer games, and luckily, neither of the games that we saw in semifinals were 3-0s. They went to either 4 or 5 games.
Yep, that was good to see. And the first one that we saw was TLCST versus Team Chill. They played on the regular Friday night while the other game was rescheduled for Monday.
Hmm.
And this was such a great series. All the games were so close, within a few kills of each other, both back and forth. I was personally rooting for Crit's team, and I lost faith several times in them, but then they turned it around.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like Marge decided that against some of these better player teams, he needed to go back to the mid lane, which I think he looked very impressive in. Game one, having a very strong performance on the Nico. I just think Team Crit had a very good job in understanding where to play around, especially by understanding that if they're going to have a strong ADC in jungle, mid lane, Albino Sunbear knew he had to play certain champs with more utility rather than the carry style. So you see him playing champs like game one, Lissandra, game two and three, Nico, champs that can enable a very strong engage with still having good damage that allows backline carries like Cret or Gosha to come in, clean the fights, and carry their team to victory, which they did with the 3-1.
Mm-hmm. I think this was the first series for them where Gosha didn't just steamroll over the enemy jungler. It was not his normal like 20 kill, 2 death performances. It was a really good matchup between him and Watcher in that jungle role.
Mm-hmm. And the top lane matchup was probably the most boring between the all, as we saw two complete weak side players with Swain versus Cassante, and then we had Ornn versus Aatrox, and then we had Maokai versus. At least they had a Jace that game, but and then final game was Ornn versus Shen. Two very strong weak side players, and it looked like both teams understood that bot lane was going to be a primal focus. And you can see Little Gamer Boy didn't do bad. He like game one and game four, he was going kind of crazy. I wouldn't have been surprised if lost or at least brought it to a game five.
Yeah, Little Gamer Boy actually outdamaged Crit over the entire
Mm-hmm.
series, so another really
Yep.
good performance by him.
Well, I think that brings us well into the final semifinals game that I both believe watched live was Team DRG versus NOR. What did you think of those games?
Ah man, these were just masterclass. I had to double check the tab I was on multiple times. I thought I was watching the LCK or something. These were just beautiful games to watch. Personally, I was watching Terry stream, so I mainly got to watch the top action, kind of the featured match, Sonic the Rock, captain of Noir versus a Wild Terry, two diamond top laners going head to head.
hmm And game one was very interesting with Sonic getting 14 kills, but then Terry putting up a big threat with the TP advantage and Fiora Hullbreaker side lane. It was really tough. Terry almost pulled off the side lane pressure he needed, but Sonic just having enough strength and skill to completely take over that game. And I think the best part was the going to silver scrapes. Game five was a very, very intense game. Can at least say I was on the edge of my seat watching that game.
Oh, are we talking about the same series? Game 5 was an absolute stomp.
No, I was going into game five. I was nervous as hell. I wanted Terry's team to win, but I knew that after that loss that they just came off of, would they still have the mental fortitude to go in strong, mental reset, and completely win? Terry went 0-3 and did 5,000 damage in the entire 30-minute game. I was not looking forward to seeing what Terry was cooking up game three, but let's just say that a good performance from Sugidi Anubis, combined with Terry completely holding down the top lane against Sonic. Well deserved win, game five from them.
Yeah, that Jax performance was really good from a Wild Terry. He was going up
Mm-hmm.
against Sonic's Fiora, which Terry had played 2 times before. We had two Fiora versus Darius matchups where he lost on the Fiora both times, so he decided to give it over, took the Jax, and oof, he just 1v9'd. Really, looks like all of them did pretty well though. Echoes of War, 3-1-11, Swugity and Ubis, no deaths in the mid and bot lane. Yeah, just a really great performance to close out that series. They have to be really confident heading into the finals after that.
Yeah, and like a notable mention there was like Tarkio getting his patented Syndra in game four or sorry, not game 4, game 3, 4, and 5. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was going crazy in game 3 and 4 with the Syndra. What a threat! Top damage both games by a decent margin. I wish I could just see why they didn't ban it game 5. I mean, I see it worked out, but when I saw Sataku getting Syndra game 5 after game 3 and 4's performance, I was really worried.
Yep. Definitely could have gone either way. I wish that had been a best of 7. We just need more games of that.
Yeah, but that game went long enough as it was.
Especially with that 45-minute pause or
Yeah,
whatever
the
it was.
pause we don't talk about those, but now moving on to the final game we can talk about here. The finals, the coveted TLCST versus DRG best of 5 coming in on August 18th, which is tomorrow for us as of time of recording. What do you think going into this game?
It'll be such a close series. TLCST, slight advantage in the bot lane, and then mid and top, it's going to be heavily Dragoon favored. And then, of course, Gosha, the best jungler remaining. He should be able to have his way in the jungle. We'll see how he'll impact the map and hopefully be able to cover those lower ranked mid and top laners on TLCST.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting series to say the least. We have Bangus, a really strong weak side player. Will he be able to neutralize the top lane of a Wild Terry, or will Terry just be able to get his split pushes off? Will the mid lane, Tarku's patented Syndra and Control Mage skill versus Albino Sunbearer, and also a very good Control Mage player, how will that matchup go? And
Well,
last but not least,
Tark was on no R. It's Swoogity
oh,
for
sorry,
Dragoons.
Swoogity, apologies. Swoogity, with his Tristana mid, his Xerath mid. I was looking at his Xerath game. I don't know why I was looking at Turkey, but his Xerath game. We'll see how that goes. And then obviously Ubis and Lethal Lime, they're going to give Crit a run for their money. I don't think Ubis is going to be like all the other ADCs Crit has to play, right? There's a lot of lower ranked ADCs in this season, but just from Ubis's game history, like I don't think he's going to have a very easy time to just completely steamroll like normal. So, what do you think the
Yeah.
score will be?
Man. I'd hope 5 games. But, hmm. Yeah, I'll say 5 games. I think it'll be back and forth, them making adjustments both times. We'll see how the bands start versus how they end between these two teams. If you were
Mm-hmm.
the draft coach, what would be your top ban on each side? Just one or two.
Well, I'll be honest. If I'm on Crit's team, uh, I'd be worried about the Fiora. If Fiora and Jax, those two champions, it just feels like if we're not going to put emphasis on the top lane, obviously if Sonic's one of the other top tier top laners, probably the next best.
Yeah.
Maybe tied with maybe Sabota and a few other people, but couldn't even handle up to Terry's top line performance. I mean, I wonder how Fangus is going to surprise, right? Is he going to surprise us and maybe even beat Terry, or is the split push going to be too much? I think they're going to need to really be able to answer that in a strong and meaningful manner. Otherwise, that might just be their lose con.
Yeah, I think Fengu can definitely hold his own up there. He's been holding back. He's capable of so much on especially his Ornn, his Cassante. I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if he just gaps Terry up there. Fengu is so good.
I hope they're both listening to it. That's the top lane matchup I've been waiting for, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Fangus versus a Wild Terry, the two best top laners in all of League history.
Yep, yep.
But I think personally, I'm a little biased. I think Crit's team is really good. Just you can hear it from my POV in the last two podcasts we've done. I thought they were a top two team, if not the best team. We've scrimmed them countless times, and I've talked with a lot of the players frequently, and I'm biased, but I think it's going to be either a 3 or a 3-1 for TCLST.
Yeah, it's tough for me. My captain last season is on Dragoons. And my captain for my first draft team, Staff Sucks, is on TLCST now, so I want both of them to get the win. But I think I'm good friends with Crit, Sunbear, obviously Gosha. Ah, such a pleasure to watch. I think I'd want them to win, but I'm gonna pick Dragoons to win this 3-2. I think their advantage in the mid and top is just too great to overcome. You saw the Stro
Good
wasn't
job.
able to convert his advantage into wins. I think it'll be a similar battle for Gosha to carry Crit over these guys.
And if DRG wins, very fair play to them. They did not have an easy lineup. Their first week's game was against NSP, which wasn't the strongest team, but still pretty good with Tay as the Masters ADC. Then beats Stroh's team, then beats NOR, and if they can beat Crit's team to win, I think undoubtedly they must be the best team. So
Yep.
looking forward to it.
TLCST has looked a bit more dominant, closing out their series in fewer games, but Dragoons has beaten the better opponents, I think, so should be a really great series. We mentioned it, if Dragoons wins, Echoes of War will have won back to back. I think he has to be
Ah, yes.
considered for best jungler in Risen.
Yeah, I think he deserves the title. Back to back draft league champion, first to do it. I take no credit in his success, but fuck it,
Yep.
I'll say it. If he wins, it's because of me. Nah, I'm joking. I don't think I've contributed a lot. I think honestly, after looking through his games, he's improved a hell of a lot more than he was playing on our team. Like his jungling skills have gone up tremendously. Credit to his team, credit to him. Yep. And I think that wraps it up for the final podcast for this season. Thank you, everyone, for watching. My name is Burger King. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hope to see you next week or next season. Sorry. Hope to see you next season.